so before you call it burnout, I want you to ask yourself this. Are you actually exhausted, or have you simply drifted out of alignment with your life? Burnout is quite often an energy issue, and misalignment is an identity issue. Because burnout and misalignment can quite often look the same on the surface, irritability, low motivation, restlessness, exhaustion, it's very easy and quick for us to identify or label it as burnout, particularly in this day and age, which I get it. The time we are living in is crazy. There's so much going on, but I think it's really important to have this discussion and differentiate between the two, because I think there's quite a few of us who often misdiagnose ourselves as suffering from burnout because we are showing these symptoms, but there's actually something else under the surface. And the root causes and what you need can be completely different. Hi, I'm Tash, and if you're new here, welcome. If you haven't subscribed, please do so below. In this video, I want to explore a question I think a lot of us should be asking a lot more, which is, am I actually burnt out? Or am I simply no longer aligned with this life that I'm living? In this video, I'm going to show you 3 questions which you can reflect on to then gain clarity on whether or not you are burnt out or if you are simply misaligned. Over the years, I've experienced my own versions of misalignment, both in relationship and in work. And I think it's important to recognize that at some point, these things were once aligned for us. That is why we find ourselves in these situations, because it was once the job that we wanted. It was once the relationship that we wanted. And so it's important to not discredit that. It was once aligned for us. It now no longer is. And that's okay. It's completely natural, actually. Like, we're humans, we are designed to grow, change, and develop. And with that come these shifts. From my own experience, it's this quiet building. It's nothing dramatic, but simply a quiet drift from what was once something that felt true or something that felt right. And I don't necessarily think it's about getting quicker at recognizing when you're out of alignment, but it's having the awareness to notice when you are out of alignment. It's not a race, but it's more about having the confidence, that inner knowing, strengthening your intuition, and being like, yeah, okay, it's time. I'm a strong believer as well that, you know, I would never look back and be like, oh, I wasted so much time in that job or whatever. No, I think everything happens when it should happen. And what happens during that period is necessary. The processing, the thinking, the moving through it. If we just sort of woke up one day and we're like, oh, we're misaligned. We don't learn all the little things along the way. We don't get to know ourselves better. We don't ask ourselves the questions to be like, is this actually what I want? If you skipped all of that part, you know, and jumped straight to the end, you haven't collected the little bits of wisdom along the way. And so I think that part is very important. So I'm not trying to bypass that by any means, but I'm trying to bring awareness to this so that we can move through it with awareness. Interesting. I kept justifying why I stayed. It provided security. It's this false sense of security that quite often keeps us stuck, because quite simply, we stay out of fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of uncertainty. It is comfortable, it's familiar, it's safe, And I think it's most definitely the easier option to stay. Keep sweeping things under the rug and ignore that little voice in your head thinking that maybe it'll go away. It's fine. I'm just being silly. But the thing with that voice is it doesn't go away. It just gets louder and louder and louder. And so a question I've been asking myself recently is, why does it take us so long to realize that we are misaligned? And I think a huge part is not having awareness, and two, not having the language. As I also mentioned earlier, it's a quiet building. It's that voice in the back of your head that is, pops up every now and again. Something's not quite right. And I think during that period, because we're not waking up and we're not like, the first time something feels misaligned, we're not like, oh, I'm misaligned, I have to change this. No, because we will question that. And I think it's a matter of building evidence, taking note of the patterns, the behaviors, the thoughts that come up, and just starting to take note of that. And until we've gathered enough information, then we can confidently make a decision to be like, okay, this wasn't just a random, I'm having a bad day. This is a reoccurring pattern or thought that I'm experiencing. And I think it's also important to note that misalignment doesn't necessarily mean that something's wrong. Sometimes it simply means that you've grown, which is part of the human conditioning. Now, I want to differentiate the difference between burnout and misalignment. So burnout quite often shows up as, or equates to, overload. It's a capacity issue. Burnout happens when demand exceeds capacity. The solution is often reduction, rest, boundaries, and delegation. And misalignment often equates to drift. What I mean by drift is drifting from something that was once aligned. Misalignment very often happens, in my experience, when your life still works on paper. It's ticking the boxes, it looks good. So there's this natural instinct to be like, why would I question that? What I have is good. It's maybe at one point what I asked for. It's what society tells me. It's all of these things. And so there's that resistance to be like, why would I be ungrateful for everything that I have right now? The difference is that you don't need a break. You need a decision, because rest won't fix a life that no longer fits. And another way to look at it is burnout needs boundaries and misalignment needs honesty. And sometimes some of us don't want to hear the honest truth, and that's okay. It's not for everyone. But if you are somebody who's seeking more for themselves, or knows that there's something missing, then this is where that curiosity comes in and you can start digging a little deeper. Now, the 3 questions that I promised you. Number 1, when I rest, do I recover? Number 2, if my workload suddenly became lighter, would I still feel the same? Number 3 is, if I could redesign this from scratch, would I choose it again? Now, I'm not telling you to go and quit your job tomorrow. What I am asking you is to wake up. If you've been having these quiet nudges, maybe this has prompted something. My last question to you is, if it is misalignment, what is it costing you to stay? And on that note, I bid you goodbye and farewell. I hope with these videos it sparks reflection and ignites awareness. I guide people through identity level realignment work, and often awareness is the first step. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Ciao.